Hey guys, tonight I'm going to teach you how to change the oil in your Saab 9.5 with the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine. Let's get started. Changing the oil in a first generation Saab 9.5 is actually very simple, and you really only need the things that are seen here before you, and I'll leave a link to everything below. But we're going to use 4 quarts of 0W40 weight synthetic motor oil, obviously a new oil filter. We're going to have a new M14 copper washer for the drain bolt. I like to have some gloves because things get messy. My car has a 14mm bolt on there, but just pay attention to what you need. There's some variation. Obviously a wrench to go with that. We have the oil filter wrench, a funnel to add the new oil, paper towels just when things go messy. I also have this metal tray that I always put underneath the catch pan that you're going to need. This just offers some extra protection for when things get messy, which they will. You also need a way of elevating the car. So I have these easy drive up ramps. And when you're using ramps, always put a chalk behind the back tires. And also always be sure to set your handbrake. We're going to start by opening the hood, and the hood release is in the driver's side footwell. Just pull back like that. Then once you're outside the car, directly beneath the Saab badge, you'll see the release. Just press on this and then pull up. Now before we go underneath the car, just twist this cap with the dipstick and pull it up just to relieve some pressure. Now take your metal tray or cardboard or newspaper or protectant, and we're going to just slide it directly underneath the bottom of the oil pan. Now we're going to take the catch pan and do the same thing and put it on that tray. On this car, you're going to find the oil drain bolt on the back of the pan on the passenger side of the car. And just make sure when you put your catch pan in place, that you line it up so that the oil will come out and land on here and nowhere else. And now we're ready to grab that 14mm socket. Now put the ratchet on and crack it loose. Now that it's loose with a glove on, go ahead and just take this off with your finger, and you'll see that oil is about to start to drip. And before it comes all the way out, make sure that it's going to be dripping into the pan. So, see, it's coming out. Perfect. And you can just leave that bolt on the tray. When it trickles to a stop, we can take a paper towel, clean this up, and put the new drain bolt in. So before we put this drain bolt back in the car, let's take the old crusher washer off. And it's important that you do this because these are one-time use only. This one was plastic, but even these new copper ones are one-time use. Then we're just going to clean up the mating surface here, get all the oil off the bolt the best you can, like so. Grab a new washer, and we're just going to slide it over like that. And this is good to go back in the car. All right, now that this is done flowing, we can take our paper towel, clean it up a little bit, and you might notice it's going to keep dripping. That's okay, but then we're going to take that drain bolt that we just put the new copper washer on, as you can see, and we're just going to put that in here, thread it with your finger as to not cross thread, and then just get that nice and finger tight. Now we're just going to come back with that same socket and tighten it. You want to get it snug, but you don't want to get it on there so tight that you're never going to get it off again, just so this washer crushes and there's not going to be any oil coming out. So now it's time to change the oil filter, and you'll find that up towards the front of the car right here. So first, pull this tray forward so that it's right underneath your filter. Now we need to break this oil filter loose. So we just want to get it to where we can turn it by hand. So take your oil filter wrench, slide it over the filter as such, and then push it counterclockwise so that you get it moving. As you can see here, once it breaks free, it's really not too bad. That's loose. So now I'd recommend putting gloves on again because it's going to get messy. You just take it by the hand and spin. And you can see oil is now coming back and into the drain pan. When it gets to the end of the thread, you want to make sure you have a really good grip on it because it's full of oil and it's heavy, and you don't want to drop it and spill all of the oil all over the place. So make sure you've got a nice hold, and then simply set it down and let it drain. And you can see the last of that oil is now coming out. Now that it's out, we're going to just clean this surface for the new oil filter and gasket so that it has a clean point to mate to. Now we can prepare our new oil filter to go on the car. And before we do so, there's a rubber gasket on the end of the filter, and we want to lubricate this with some of the motor oil to make sure that it seals nicely. So just dip your finger in your new oil like this, and just put a light coat around the gasket. And we can put that on the car. Now we're going to slide our oil filter wrench back on the opposite way we took it off, and just put pressure on and tighten it down about 3/4 turn. We're almost done. Now just come up top, remove the oil filler cap. And now we're going to add 4 out of the 5 quarts from this bottle back into this engine. Now, one of the reasons I like Mobil 1 is because it's very easy to tell how much oil you've added. There's a quart line right here, so I can tell I've added 4 out of the 5 quarts. Now, I like to buy the 5 quart size too because it's a better value. It's usually cheaper, but you have one left over. So I'm going to start adding back into this container, and on my 5th oil change, it'll essentially be free. Now this one's empty and ready to recycle the old oil in, and now I've got 2 quarts in here halfway to my free oil change. You don't get this with Amazon Basics oil and a couple other brands, so another nice reason to think about Mobil 1. So now that we're full on oil, we can remove our funnel, replace the dipstick and oil cap, and you make sure it sits down all the way and tightens. Now we're going to take everything out from under the car so we can back it down and recycle all that oil. So you can see it was a good thing that we had this extra pan here to catch oil. Just take this off, which was your oil filter. Make sure that you don't have any loose caps here. And we're going to take this new empty bottle, unscrew this, and fill this up with oil. And most auto parts shops are actually going to have free recycling. So I'm just going to take this right back to AutoZone and dump it in the back, recycle it, get it out of the garage, and do the right thing with it. And when you're doing this, it's helpful to clean this off like I just did. Put your funnel into your empty container, and then just hold on to this as tightly as you can for the first quart or so while it's kind of wobbly, and then let it fill up and make sure it doesn't overflow. And now we're done. We're ready to close the hood, remove the chocks from the back wheels, remove the handbrake, and then back it off the ramp. It really is that simple to change the oil in a Saab 9.5. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna have more videos soon. I have a top-end oil leak that this guy is going to fix with some brand new valve cover gaskets. So be watching for that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I've also left everything that I used today so that you can do the exact same job on your car. Thanks.